Let's talk about the new patch real fast here. It's a small one. It's a nothing burger patch. We waited. It's like I stopped the count, but it's like at least 5 patches of nothing burgers now. Genuinely very sad that Riot simply does not care about the balance state of this game in any way. Like, I thought like MSI ended, EWC ended, now they have maybe a better idea of what's going to happen in pro play and what they should be doing. Nope, they still are on full vacation mode, I guess. So they're buffing Bastion Breaker, they're saying it's a niche item and pretty expensive to deviate for strategic output, so they're probably gonna nerf the stats and make it more cheaper. I think that's generally fine, but looking at statistically at Bastion Breaker, it does not seem to be a weak item. My problem with Bastion Breaker is just that the item is boring. I think the item has no identity. It doesn't make, it is not satisfying to build. You don't really feel the power when you buy it. I just think it's a completely failed design. We should do something with it or remove it. That's my take. Jack of Trades. Nerf was also pushed to this patch. It has been a bit too strong and too present, especially for users that opt into strong defenses and be able to supplement that with strong offense. So Jack of Trades being nerfed, it was supposedly gonna happen last patch already, and it didn't, and now it's going to be happening. Okay, sure. I mean, the rune is really strong, and it pretty much, again, outperforms Cosmic Insight at every single champ almost, and you can look at this patch, for example. Volibear is getting buffed, but Jack of Trades is getting nerfed, right? We have, for example, Riven, another champion here that uses a Jack of Trades, so she's getting double nerfed here. Yeah, so anyway, I think the rune does probably need a nerf, yeah. Especially with introduction of Doran's Helm, it is a lot easier these days to get to 10 stacks. Sundered Sky has been... Yeah, last thing I'm gonna say about Jack of Trades, it would be kind of interesting if Riot would nerf only the 10 stack, but not the 5 stack. Because for a lot of champions, it's not super easy to get to 10 stacks, right? Like, it depends what we're playing at. So I feel like the proper way to nerf this rune would be to just nerf the 10 stacks instead of the 5 one. Or both. Sundered Sky has been showing meta-defining at the highest levels of play for quite a while now. We're looking to take a pass at the fighter item system now that the tournaments, we're out of tournament windows. Yeah, they're doing that because AP junglers cannot enter the meta because Sundered Sky and Tunneler and Ruby Crystal components are simply too strong in the game. I did a whole rant about Sundered Sky and why it's so strong like a day ago. I don't want to go over it again, but yeah, bound to happen, I guess. Notably, we think it's been suppressing a bit of meta diversity, especially things like AP jungle, tank jungle. Part of that is intentional, but the magnitude is a bit off. I think tank junglers will have a pretty high chance of entering the meta, because I think Giant's belt stacking is simply strong. They buffed Heartsteel recently. There's like other items in the meta they can buy, like Sunfire Cape I think got buffed a while back. We have items like Unending Despair. Tank junglers really do, like the path really does scale really well with health, so stuff like Sejuani and Mundo can get their clear spits up by a lot. So I think if, you know, the Sundered Sky swing is too big, I think tank jungle will probably likely follow. Buffs. Alistar has been closer at the bottom of the packing order for the melee support. That said, our meta adjustment to move melee supports up relative to range supports has been reasonably successful. We're pretty happy with how that's played out. So that is quite interesting. Why did Alistar fell behind other melee supports? Not something I really expected. I don't know when exactly the melee support nerfs happened, but at least win rate wise, looking at him right now, he seems to be fine. Generally, Alistar tends to have an okay matchup into Rel and into like Nautilus, which tend to be melee supports. Generally, his bad matchups are stuff like Bard and Rakan, which Bard is still being played, Rakan is not really being played, so I don't know. I'm a little bit skeptical if this even is the case. Like, is this just because pros don't play Alistar? I'm confused. Nerfs. LOCKE is still pretty strong. He's been tapering off in the lowest skill brackets and the high skill brackets, but in the skill brackets around Emerald and Diamond, LOCKE is able to both take over the game and also not throw it. At the higher skill brackets, he can snowball but needs to play very well without throwing as he falls off sharply. At the lower skill brackets, the executional demands and constant throws can make him fall off faster. Overall, we feel like his release has landed well. Yeah, it's like, I think first or second most banned champ in the game, even after nerfs, and people absolutely despise it. But in the classic Riot fashion, they're like, I think his release landed well. And they do that the same with Mel, right? How oftentimes they said, oh, Mel is fine, Mel is fine. They did like this terrible rework. She ends up being even worse than before. And here we are, Mel being the most hated League character. Wow, crazy. Whatever, man. I really wish they stopped writing this PR nonsense. Like every patch they write, we think this is going well. We think this is going well. Like every time. Okay, anyway. So we have Alistar. Okay. A bit weird. Kai'Sa being buffed. I would definitely say this one's deserved. I think she kind of fell off behind a lot of other ADCs. No real reason to play her. Also, problem with ADCs in general is that I feel like champions that don't build a lot of crit kind of suffer. Crit is just way too strong, so compared to other stuff. So fair enough. We have Maokai has been out of meta for a while. Maokai is always a scary thing to buff. He overtakes supports in win rate very fast. He's farming pro play in jungle really fast. There was like a meta in 20 something where Maokai was like absurdly high win rate for the entire year, and you could literally just predict the team with Maokai to win vast majority of games. Volibear being buffed. He did get nerfed some time ago, and ever since then he did kind of fall off from what I can see. So it is understandable, the electric bear. Volibear could in theory also be maybe a little bit buff for jungle. Zac. So Zac is like a champ where I don't think he's weak. He's definitely not OP to the point where people are playing him in pro or high either. He's mostly played by OTPs. So I understand maybe giving him a buff, throwing him a bone because he hasn't been played for a long time. But again, you do have to remind everybody that once Zac is in meta, everybody fucking hates the shit out of this champion. Because it's a tank that essentially one-shots you in a lot of cases. So, you know. Champ nerfs LOCKE, definitely still OP. The nerf didn't really do anything to him, it seems like. Mordekaiser got absurd win rate this patch because of the ult buffs that basically it added a lot more damage and a lot more resist still to the champion. It gave him like 4% win rate. It was like the largest buff of the patch. Naafiri is finally getting nerfed. Yeah, people have been asking for that one for a while. Riven, also same as Naafiri, and Sylas. I still don't really think Sylas is, I would say, OP to the point where we have to nerf him. I understand that he's like, in China and Korea, more of a problem. And he's slightly high win rate, but not to the point where I really think he needs a nerf. But again, my problem with Sylas is that, like, I just don't like the identity of Sylas. He's obviously way too brain dead with passive.
Sylas nerfed by rage.
He's way too brain dead ever since they buffed his passive, because he oftentimes just wins trades with auto attacks only. Sylas should be a lot more about Q and E and way less about passive and W. And I feel like Riot keeps making this weird direction of Sylas where they keep buffing passive and W, and he just ends up being this early game to mid game, falls off late game, brain dead fighter that just stat checks you or dies. Like I don't like the identity in any way or form. Like, Passion Breaker, Jack of Shades. Alright, that's the patch. It's low-key nothing burger. I mean, I spent like a big chunk talking about like champs here, but like the reality is that probably most of these buffs and nerfs are going to be nothing burgers, and it's not going to really be noticeable in League because we're having 5 champ buffs, 5 champ nerfs. So whatever, bro. Vacation time for Riot Balance team. I don't know, like, I swear to God, I don't know what they're doing. I don't. Game is so stale, it's mind-blowing. I mean, the only thing that's not making the game stale right now is the fact that, like, Pro Play has basically spawned, I don't know what word I'm looking for, this meta of mage support, mage ADC, support roaming like a maniac everywhere, and now it's obviously like Solak is kind of becoming that slowly, and that's the only I think that's the only reason why the game hasn't felt really stale to people. I think if this didn't happen, this like pro play thing right now with MSI, with the game changing by a lot, the game would be so fucking stale. Everyone would be like asking what the fuck Riot Balance Team is doing.